everybody sign it that wishes to sign it?
Well, it's actually supposed to be signed by everybody who's present for the public hearing.
Oh, everyone that is
Is
present.
present for the public hearing, not necessarily that want to speak, but who's present for the hearing. We like to keep a
We'll pass
record
it
of,
out.
okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Everybody sign it.
Yep. If you're here for the public hearing, we'd like
I'm
you
sorry.
to sign it as a record. You don't have to necessarily speak.
Is what? It's,
It is 9 o'clock also.
Good morning, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. It is 9 a.m. At this time, it's June 11th, by the way, Tuesday, June 11th, 9 a.m. Time for the Cudahy County Weekly Board of Commissioners weekly meeting. We'll open the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, and Commissioner Waterman, you want to lead us today? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Harley. Couple of housekeeping chores. If you have a cell phone, which you probably do, please silence it or turn it off. And if you do get a call, you need to please step out into the rotunda area so you don't disrupt the speakers or the meeting. The other thing, this session, this meeting is being streamed live. So if you wish to speak, address the commission, just be aware that you will be on the live stream. It's just a heads up for you so that you understand. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to bring something to the commission other than, that isn't on the agenda? Something that is not on the agenda. We wouldn't be able to act on it today because it's not on the agenda, but if there's someone that has something they want to bring to us, we certainly want to allow them time during the open to do that. Seeing none, are there any commissioners that feel there's a conflict of interest of any items on the agenda? Seeing none, I'll entertain
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second that motion.
Motion by Hatton, second by Van Duzen. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
What about the meeting?
Move
minutes
to
of June
approve as
4th?
emailed.
Motion by Hatton, second by
Second.
Van Duzen. Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. All right, it's real close to 9 o'clock, and on the agenda we have at 9 a.m. a public hearing, possible action to reopen a previously vacated section line in Elmira Township. Attorney Tom Burns is going to join us. Was he coming right up, or?
Yep. He said he was on his way.
The way we're going to do this is we're going to allow public hearing. People can express or share with us their thoughts on this particular agenda item. We're going to limit you to 3 minutes. You should be able to say what you want to say, I hope, in 3 minutes. If you are going to say exactly what the individual before you said, you know, there's no sense in repeating it. You just may address and just say, I concur with Joe or whatever he said or she said previously. So that'll expedite things and help us get through this in a quick fashion. And we encourage you to express your thoughts, either pro or con, and we'll take it from there. That being said, that everybody, I apologize, I thought just those that wish to address the board would sign it, but everybody needs to sign it. Anybody and everybody that's in attendance here for this public meeting. So does everybody sign it? That clipboard. Okay, well, we might as well proceed.
Doug, do you need that clipboard? Okay.
Is,
He's not here for the public. Do you need him to sign if
Still in
he's not? No.
attendance.
No,
No.
if he's not here specifically for the public meeting, that's fine.
Okay, we'll.
Just Tom.
Doug's a regular.
Here's Mr. Burns. Tom has been working on this issue. Tom, why don't you come right up front, will you? I'll introduce, this is, this is Attorney Tom Burns, and Tom Burns has been working on this issue. Could you just give us a background? So we need a starting point, okay?
Okay. Well, this road for whatever length it was vacated several years ago, and it was done by the commissioners. It's a township road. It's half in Lake and half in Elmira. And they could have had Elmira and Lake vacated, but the statute's permissive that the county could do it instead. I'm sure they did that because it laid in both. And so it is within the power to reopen the road to whatever dimensions that or length that the commissioners would want. And I think there's one of the parties asked for it to be opened up so that they could have an improved road up to their place. And so I've kind of advised the commissioners how to go about doing that, and you've given the notice and so on.
And I do have the resolution number 1030 back in 1975, and it was signed by Chair of the Commission, Ralph Mack, and that section of the road does appear on here, so it was actually closed.
It was.
I mean, I wanted to make certain that it was closed before we tried to reopen it, and it was closed, but it was closed. Okay, that being said, we would like to open it up for the public at this time. Tom, would you please hang in here if there are some questions that we need to answer? Would you do that for us?
You bet. I'll step
Thank you.
back here.
All right, let's go ahead then. Who's first? Go ahead, Harry. Introduce yourself, please.
Mr. Chairman, we need him to come forward.
You want
You
to
wanna
come
come
up and grab a mic? Do we have the handheld mic?
Yeah.
Just a minute, we'll get a handheld mic for you. We don't want to miss anything you have to say, so.
You can, but our video stream won't pick you up. And the news media would like to record you as well. So.
I want to see you on TV too.
I think it's too late to do this, so.
Test.
Go ahead, Harry, thank you.
I would just like to know, there's measurements there, but how far, maybe I have to ask Riley, how far does this come, the deadline to the road that you're going to open?
Well, we'll find that out today. We'll find out.
okay,
Okay.
all right.
Excuse me? Oh, yeah, please.
Harry Lacroix, you got it?
And where do you live, Harry?
I live kitty corner across the section, but I own the land to the north, what you're talking about.
Okay, very good. All right. All right, who's next? Who's next?
Pass it right over here, Harry. Harry, right over here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Jay Leibel. I'm an attorney from Madison, South Dakota. And I'm here on behalf of Elmira Township. The township obviously has concerns in regards to this matter. What Tom said, I agree. Back in 1975-76, the county commission did have the authority, as did the townships, to vacate that particular road. However, since then there's been a change in the law that basically says that townships can vacate their roads. They cannot, vacate roads not within their township. And conversely, the county does not have the authority to vacate roads that are in the townships. They have the authority to vacate their particular roads. So the question is, what authority does the township have in this regards pertaining to it, and what authority does the county have in this regards? Presently, that road is private. It's not a statutory section line. It has not been a statutory section line since 1976. Therefore, it's a private road. It's not one that the county, in my opinion, has the authority to require the township to take that road back. Definitely the vacation can be set aside if the county wants to take that into their road system. There's also provisions in that in chapter 31.3 that allows that road to be maintained as a private road by the owners of that property. In this situation, it's the township's position that they do not feel that it is appropriate for the county to take action to try to vacate that particular road and make them responsible for maintenance of that road, which they've had no responsibility for, 46, 47 years in that regard. We believe that the county does not have the authority to require them to do it. As indicated earlier, if you guys want to take it on as your road, they can. If you take a look at the statutes, the township road system is defined as various things. The statutory section lines, those that they voluntarily take in. There are also provisions which allow for the townships to voluntarily, in conjunction with the landowners and so forth, through special assessments and the like, to take over or maintain those private roads. It's done in subdivisions, etc. There are statutes that allow that, even have a formula for the computation of the costs and so forth. I do a lot of work for townships. I can tell you there are some townships that do, as a matter of custom or practice, take in private roads. But the ones that I've dealt with, when they do that, they require those roads, before they'll assume them into their road system, to be built to county standards. That means that the roads be built up to required widths and so forth. I'm not sure what the widths are on this particular road at this time, but my guess is they do not meet those standards of the county roads with a width of 20 foot on the traveling lane and so forth, as it's been a private road for all these years. So for the record, Elmira Township is against any action by the county to try to turn this into a private road, or this private road into a township road.
Okay?
And I would agree, that's, if the county opens up the road, that's not the end of the story, because it's not a county road. Then the townships involved would have to, it's up to them to accept it and to designate it as a minimum maintenance or full maintenance road. So your action doesn't get all the way to having the road improved.
Okay, who's next? Anyone else want to comment?
Well, just
Please introduce yourself.
Don Riley. I live on the fourth house, the last house on that short 454th Avenue.
To the north.
What's that?
To the north.
To the north.
Yeah.
You have two different issues there. You have the plot that had been done in 1973 and the property that I own. It's not all the same. It's two different amenities, but that doesn't have any difference as far as the road. Here we're arguing between the county and the township who's going to open the road, but none of the 5 people today that own that property was ever told, or was never on the titles, that this was a closed just frontage road. Even the state does not consider it or recognize it as being closed. The signs so indicate on there, minimum maintenance, not closed. And I told them about it at that time. They just looked at me and said, well, we'll have to check that out. And I came back that night and the signs are all up. They're still there right now. But it isn't our issue. If it was in fact done legally, and I approached the legal process on that, and it was said if it wasn't contested within 2 years, it just became law. Well, it was all owned by 2 people, and they weren't going to contest what they wanted themselves. But I'm not here to argue the point of how it got closed or why it's closed. We're just here as a group trying to get a road back so we can get some service. Even the auditor right next door, they didn't know that there was no services from 2011 until I come in here and dug it out last winter. The snow's 2 feet deep, and 2 of us are trying to keep the access to the people to get out for various reasons. And we're remember it, nobody ever reduced our taxes, or it was never put on the titles of the properties that we all bought. If so, there's 4 or 5 people here that wouldn't own that property. Because why would you do that if you got no services? One thing leads to another, right down to the end, they'll pull your financial situations if it got to be that tough, because the property values as known as to what they would be if you had public access to fire, telephone, or even your mail. If it stays as it is now, first thing's going to happen, all the mailboxes are going to go down to the end on 38th Avenue. There'll be no more farming machinery coming up that road because it's a private road, as it is right now. The city goes down there to check their wells. It's the only direct route down to the wells. REA goes down there. Everybody uses it, but nobody wants to claim it or maintain it. All we're asking for is that we get the same services as everybody else that buys property. So I guess that's all I got to say.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else want to add to that? Right beside you.
All right, I'm John Mayland. I live on 454th Avenue also. I'm the second house in. And we purchased that, our place, I don't know, 3-4 years ago, and we purchased Harry Lockwell's place. And I did not know the road was closed, when we purchased property. That would have been a consideration, on our part. I did not know it. And maybe that's my fault for not asking, but I did not know it. And I also worked for FedEx, and there was a portion, there was 2-3 weeks in a row there where we didn't have mail service or no delivery trucks or anything could make it down our road. We all pay taxes, and I'm just requesting that the road, be open and taken care of. That's all I have.
Thank you. By the way, I live on County Road 11, and I didn't get mail for about a week either, so. Go ahead, yes.
I'm Sharon Lockwell, and we built a home where he lives now in 76, I believe it was, and we always had service. They graded the road, they gravelled the road, they snow blowed the road. We did not know it at that. We never knew it until now that it was closed. Nobody ever, I guess we just never looked at it or never saw it or whatever. So I just wanted to say that they did maintain it up until we lived there. It was always maintained from the township. Okay. And Elmira maintained it. Mm-hmm. So that's just what I want to say.
Okay. All right.
I'm Maxine Kraus. I live between these two neighbors there on 454th. And I guess as taxpayers, I would appreciate that service. And one main concern, if we ever needed fire or ambulance service, I'm not sure what would happen without having that road open. There's 4 families live on there now, and I'm just hoping that it gets opened again.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Sharon Lockwell again. 38th Avenue that leads to that place, and goes right straight through from one highway to the Conifer Nursery. That was closed most of the winter, was it not? The 38th Avenue, most of it was closed, that they could not get out. Not only their road, but the other road.
It didn't get a lot of maintenance.
Yeah, no maintenance or no snow removal.
Introduce yourself.
Doris Riley. This is Don's my husband. We're taxpayers just like everybody else, so I think we should be treated just like everybody else. And another thing that bothers me, 38th across 81 is maintained, and there's absolutely nobody living on that road. The only ones that use that road is when the city people come out and exercise their dogs. That's maintained, that's gravelled, it's plowed every day or every time they go through. And I think we're just as good as anybody else, and we should have the same treatment. And another thing, when the city comes out to check, there for a while we put a gate across that was requested by all the neighbors, and they drove out into the field across the road from us. They just drove out in the field and went around it. So
Okay, Harry, again, you had another comment?
Yeah, Eric, again, anyhow, is there a law, I should ask the attorney this, but after they maintain, as we lived there for how many years? Over 40 years, they maintained it, and that, is there a law that says if you do this, they automatically, I mean, they didn't do that so on the good of their heart, they kind of claimed that road, why would they give it up now, or I don't know how to word it.
I guess you're asking if they're grandfathered in.
Right, okay, yeah.
Hey, well, we have the attorney here. Mr. Lilo, maybe you can address that.
First of all, in regards to that, there are statutes, or a statute that addresses what is in the township road. What I understand, though, is that on more than one occasion over the last few years, Harry himself has requested work by the township on the road. The township has denied that particular work to do that on behalf of the township. Also, we just had a statement indicating that they barricaded the road, they put a gate up on it. That connotates a private road. They knew that they had some rights to that. The law is very clear that as soon as that vacation takes place, that becomes private property. It becomes the ownership, if you would, of the adjacent landowners. The statutory section line is 66 feet wide. The landowner on each side of that particular section line obtains the legal ownership again of that road, of that property. So what you have here is a factual situation. They're alleging that the township has done some, but there's also testimony from them that they've indicated that they've tried to treat it as a private road. The reason there is a possibility also under the law as a prescriptive easement or otherwise that the public does have a right to travel on that. It's just like if someone has a body of water in the middle of their quarter, they allow people to go out there and fish or camp or whatever, or have a campfire out there. Over a number of years, if they meet the statutory requirements, they then have the public has a right to travel on that particular path. It may not be the statutory 66 foot in width, but they have a right to use that. So that may be the situation with the city or the post office or whatever, because obviously they wanted mail service. It's a private road. They can allow the postal employees to come up and deliver mail to them, just like any other services that they desire through an electrical company or whatever. In regards to taxpayers, yes, they are taxpayers. There's no doubt about it. However, that does not guarantee that anyone that lives in the township has the right to demand service on a private road, from the township. I have not looked at the particulars, but I'm guessing if you look at what they receive in taxes or what they pay to the township in taxes, it's probably in the range of $75 to $150 per house. That's customary, in this type of situation. I asked the township what a load of gravel costs right now. What we're talking about is approximately $250 for a side dump of gravel. In other words, hypothetically, they're paying for maybe one load of gravel a year in their taxes. The road has not been maintained at a level for at least 46 years. What's going to be the cost of the balance of the township to try to bring that half mile or a mile or 2 miles? Technically, the vacation that was done, and I believe Mr. Lockwood was one of the petitioners at that time when the county approved it. Basically, are you going to close the entire or open up the entire 2 miles? Or are you going to just do the half mile that may involve the residents? I can tell you that it's my policy to recommend to townships that they do not have dead-end roads. It costs more to maintain a road of that nature than if it goes all the way through. Where do they turn around? The time per hour for a blade or whatever the case may be goes up. And so what we're saying is this is a private road. I mean, it's been established by the action of the county commission back in '76, by the way the road has been operated as a private road. The township is not going to look favorably on trying to all of a sudden 46 years later change the maintenance of that road and build it up at taxpayers' expense. In regards to the comment about snow this year, any township, any county that didn't have problems this winter is very lucky, very rare. And simply because there was one bad year doesn't mean that the whole scheme of things should be taken and changed. Everybody has to prioritize what roads are damaged, what are going to be maintained, where the traffic is. And I think it's unfair to the balance of this township and maybe the adjacent one, because they do have joint responsibility for boundary line, section line roads. Therefore, we're saying that, as I indicated earlier, we're opposed to any action by the county that may put any type of responsibility for this particular road on the township.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else? One more time over here.
I just wanted to clear up about the gate across there. It was put there in the fall because people had gone in the wintertime, tried to get through, because it says it's 41st, 454th Avenue, and on the other end it is, because I lived there all my life on the other end. And they drive out in there and get stuck, and then they come pounding on the door in the middle of the night and want us to come and pull them out. So we agreed to put that gate up there. That's why that was put there, not just to keep everybody out.
All right.
Save somebody's life.
All right.
I need to clarify a few things that have been said here.
Introduce yourself again.
This is Don Riley again. I just heard the comments from the lawyer for the township. This whole deal surfaced erratically in 2011. 2011, we had a huge water problem. And there was a farmer who legally can do it, drained a quarter of land into Mud Creek, which passes through our property and goes across that road. Now, I approached the township and asked them to do something that when the city of Watertown contracted to put the pipeline in for the water that was wells that were dug up north, they smashed all the little 10-inch culverts along there, which weren't large enough to do anything or anyway. I said, we have to get that fixed. We don't have no money to fix that. We're not going to fix that. I said, well, then I'm going to tear them out of there and make it a spillway. I'm not going to sit here and let the water back up to the point where it goes in all the buildings. You can't do that. That's public, that's township property. I said, if you want to come over in the morning about 8 o'clock, you can watch. I can do it. And so somebody spoke up, well, that road's been closed since 1973 anyway. Immediately, the next morning, the president of the township and the lawyer of the township, it's on the board, went up to the courthouse and dug out this piece of paper, Resolution 1030, that we're all arguing about today. Besides that, the next morning, the president called me, and he says, guess what? You can do whatever the F word you want to with that road. It is closed. We are not servicing it. And they didn't. Nobody has plowed that thing since 2011. They're not talking just about one excessive winter that we had last winter. The other thing, the landowner to the west of me and I put in 3 38-inch culverts on our own. We did that. No help from the township. We got about $3,000 that we did ourselves to betterment the situation of everybody along from that point clear over to Sioux Conifer Road. If you do your measurements with the amount of water that comes through there, that all comes, if it does not pass through them culverts, if we would take them culverts out, being private property and farm right to the edge again, all of that water is going south, and it's going to flood everybody to the west on Sioux Conifer, or the 38th Avenue there, and going across into the river. You seen that back in the 90s when you couldn't even get to the airport. That's just another issue. And the gate thing, that's when the gate issue became. The 2 property owners, not myself, put them gates across. And they said to me, well, we need to stop them. They're stealing the stuff out of the equipment that's there and everything else. We wanted it closed. Well, so I went along with it. We put a gate across there. But they were not maintained anyway. The property owners would go through there, leave the gates open, and finally I took my stuff back. I said, I'm not the gate boy. If they go down there, they're on their own. I'm not maintaining them anymore. But they'd leave them open anyway. So, but the water thing is a big issue that nobody really has documented or talked about here. I'm not going to maintain those culverts anymore. I mean, I'm supposed to be retired, whatever, and I can't afford it anymore. So with that.
All right, thank you, Don. We got quite a discussion going here, so I think we got a pretty good idea of what the certain. Do you have someone else?
A comment?
Okay. One more time, Mr. Ladd.
Summarization, two things. Number one, it appears it was treated and has been a private road for years. They acknowledged it. Number two, drainage is a completely different issue. You know, there may be issues there. It may be in this situation, the township's not involved in it. You know, the laws are very clear. The dominant, the upstream, has a right to cast water in reasonable amounts down in the lower, and the culverts may or may not have effect on that. There may or may not be changes in the drainage in that area. But that's not an issue in regards to this particular road. That's a separate, distinct issue.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Go ahead, introduce yourself. Oh, you don't want to? No.
There's one, Cindy, right back there.
One more time.
I just wanted to make clear the issues that's going to take place if they're not maintained there. If it's doing their job, you can't stop them, right? But if they're, go ahead, the inspection, you're going to end up with problems.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, just to clarify, if you're not familiar with the area, and all due respect to your lawyer, he made it sound like half mile, 2 miles. We're talking probably a quarter mile, just the south quarter mile beyond the last resident. Yes, that is not to be maintained, just where the 4 families live, which is approximately a quarter mile.
Okay. All right. One last time. Anyone else would like to comment? Anyone else? I want to give everybody an opportunity to express their thoughts and their ideas. Come up, fellow commissioners. Do you have any questions that you have that may ask some of these people that have just been testifying here?
Are you closing the public hearing at this time?
Yes, I'm going to close the public hearing at this time, so let's consider it closed, okay? But commissioners, do you have any questions that you may have?
I guess I just have a couple comments. I believe we had it to reopen it, was it 2,640 feet? So it'd be up to the half mile, the end of the pasture, I believe. Isn't that what we put down? We had that question asked.
That's what's in the publication.
Yep, 2,640 feet, that is what, so that goes up to the half mile mark or whatever. So when these individuals purchased this property, it has been maintained, even though it actually was closed back in 1975. It had been maintained up till 2011. Is that correct?
Not that we're aware of. There may have been intermittent stuff as requested. No, it was not on a regular maintenance plan.
I guess I don't have record of it. I have the affidavit from Elmira Township. This was signed in 2011 that had 33 miles of regularly maintained roads, but there was no map with it showing which roads they were.
Okay. Anything else?
There is a statute, I believe. I don't know, like you say, I guess. I don't know what you had it designated as, coded or whatever that word is, that you designate your roads at whatever level you're going to maintain them at.
Excuse me. Don, can we have you step out, please?
You asked the question again, Brenda?
So at your annual meeting, you can designate certain roads at a certain level, Are you saying this road was never mentioned or never designated at whatever level that would be that you're going to maintain it?
That, I can't tell you because I have not gone back and looked at all the minutes of the meetings. The statutes require the township to, determine the level of maintenance. There's full maintenance, there's minimum maintenance, and there's no maintenance.
Correct.
No maintenance has just come around in the last few years. That decision is made not by the township as a whole. By statute, that's made by the Board of Supervisors. They do have an obligation at the annual meeting to show the map or describe if there have been any changes in that particular designation from year to year. If there was a minimum maintenance sign on that particular road, it was probably there, 40, 50, 60 years ago, as a kind of warning to other people, is the level of maintenance that had been maintained on that road prior to that time. And probably this was a safety factor, they left it there. And the only other option would have been to identify it probably as a dead-end road and put a T-intersection sign or something of that nature at that level. But even assuming that that is a minimum maintenance road, that's the determination by the township board, not by the residents.
Yes.
As to how often that's going to be bladed or how much snow removal is done.
That's correct.
If the road's reopened, then the township makes that decision.
Yes, yep, I knew that. That's why I was asking. So from what I had heard, it had been maintained up to 2011. I just wondered at what level did you have that determination, which I realize it is the Board of Supervisors that decide that.
Well, it appears if there was a sign or there is a sign, the minimum maintenance, there's a statute that even specifically says that's public notice, to the public, as to that. And it's basically already a declaration, by statute as to that notice to the public. The way that no maintenance came about was basically highway engineers trying to tell the townships that if you had a minimum maintenance road, that you bladed in the summer, did no snow removal, you had to change the law and you had to change the signs twice a year to say no maintenance, minimum maintenance. At that time, we disagreed with them. The state association disagreed with them. Their attorneys agreed with the association that there was no designation in South Dakota for no maintenance. So they then proposed, the DOT proposed that the law be changed to allow the townships to have that particular, option to make it no maintenance. Doesn't mean they can't do something, fix something, but they don't have to. By statute, all they're required to do is remove man-made obstructions because it is open to the public. So you can't have someone going out and put a pile of rocks or a fence across the middle of the road to block the public from having access to that particular road. And that's one of the problems suggested here. Here we're going to have they want a dead-end road. That's not good for the public to have to potentially go up there and turn around. That's another reason the township is against it.
All right, any other questions for?
I do have one more question.
Okay, go
On
ahead,
the, I believe is it 15 years, if a township has maintained a road for 15 years, they are then required to continue to maintain a road.
Yes, there is a provision in there that talks about what is in the township road system. However, that particular provision was just added, and I believe I have to check the year, but it's since 2011. That provision of the law was changed after that date. Okay, therefore, that does not go back. It'd be basically 15 years. If they terminated it, at that time or shortly thereafter, that, in my opinion, that 15-year application does not apply.
Okay, and that's your opinion.
That's my opinion.
Okay, Harley, you have a question?
Yes. Been following this back and forth very carefully, trying to be very careful. Basically, what you're saying is this is a township issue and not a county issue then, because this was a township road.
Yes. As I indicated, the law has changed. In 76, the county did have the authority to vacate roads that were under the jurisdiction of statutory section lines. Had the authority to vacate those soon as that road is vacated, after it's been the publication and the 30 days have passed, that becomes private property. That's when it became a private road. Back at that time. That's what the situation in regards to law. And the statute is very clear. That's private property. So right now, you can take action, potentially, to because the law does authorize, roads to be reopened, section lines to be open. But that's why I asked the question earlier, does the township, are you trying to sell the township, they have to address it, or does the county want to take that over as a county road and maintain it for that half mile or whatever the case may be? To me, because of the change in law, I think it's questionable as to whether or not the law is very specific now. That the county cannot vacate township roads.
Right.
And basically, the townships can't make, county roads. So if you can't vacate a township road, what authority do you have to try to say the township's got to take that road over, even from a legal standpoint? Has that power been specifically granted to the county, by a state statute? I'm not aware of a statute that allows that.
And without records of maintenance of that road since, 1976, it's kind of hearsay whether it was or wasn't maintained.
Absolutely.
All right, we've had some good discussion here, and according to the agenda, this is how it reads. We have a public hearing and possible action to reopen a previously vacated section of line in Elmira Township. So that's what's in front of us right now, fellow commissioners. What are your wishes?
Could Tom Burns address some of these things, like what he's talking about, these issues? Do we have the authority or don't we have the
You
authority?
have the authority to reopen the road, you don't have the authority to tell the township
Right.
what it does with it.
Yes.
That's something, and of course Lake's involved there too.
Yeah, right.
They would have to then act on to accept the road and what kind of maintenance they're gonna do.
So we do have the authority to reopen this, though.
Right, so it becomes public access. There is access there now, at least to the extent of 16 and a half feet, because it's on the plat. It's on the plat, at least on the east side of it. There's a road on the plat, so there's access, but
16 feet.
If we,
Thank you.
one question, please.
Go ahead, Marty.
Tom, if we would vote to make this, open this, and would that be part of our county road system?
you can make it that way, but you have to do that specifically.
So it's a 2 or a 3 step.
It's by ordinance, I believe.
Okay.
You have one last comment? I'll give you one last shot.
I was just going to comment on what Tom says. If there was a plat, that's further confirmation that it's a private road. That plat was probably approved by the county. The statute is very clear, because any subdivision, they need access to get in there. But it's very clear that simply the approval of a plat by the county, and that the township doesn't have the authority to approve a plat. But the law is very clear that acceptance of the plat does not mean that the governmental entity, the county or whatever, is accepting that as a public road that they have to maintain. So that's further confirmation that it's a private road.
All right? Okay, what are the wishes of the board? Moving forward. Remember, we have the option of not doing anything right now. It says possible action, or we could mill it over and bring it back at a later time. And do you have a notion right now that you'd like to bring forward?
I'd like to make a motion, we table this motion.
We have a motion to table it. Now, if we table it, we need to bring it back at the end of the meeting, though, you understand? The table is just good for today.
Today.
Yeah. All right?
I have a question for Tom. If we,
Just a minute. We have a motion. Is there a second to that motion? Is there a second to that motion? Is there a second to that motion? Seeing none, then the motion has died for lack of a second. Okay, Brenda, you have a question again?
yes, I have one more question for Tom. If we vote to reopen this section line, for the townships, then that doesn't necessarily mean that they have to take that on. I mean, is that, or they aren't obligated or forced to accept it
Not
then?
tell them what kind, any kind of maintenance, they can have it, no maintenance if they want to.
But they don't have to accept it, or they do? If we open it, it becomes part of their
Well,
road system.
It becomes a section line road, but whether they maintain it, that's up to them.
How many families are we talking about that live on this? What did we say, 4? 4?
4.
If I may.
Can we have the mic? I'm sorry. Can we have the mic?
If I may, I have to disagree with Tom in part. That is private property. By statute, that became private property in 1976. I'm not sure, under the law, you have the authority to say all of a sudden, this is again a section line by your declaration. You know, hypothetically, I think that could have been done under the old law. I'm not aware of any litigation or record on that, because in '76, the county did have authority to vacate. Now, the county does not have the authority to vacate a township road. Where in state law does it declare that the county has the right to declare a piece of property now a section line and throw the problem back to the township?
Can you tell me what statute that is that now says the county does not have the authority to reopen?
It's in 31.
17.
I'll need the exact number.
31-3-17 says the county, town, or the township can reopen a vacated highway.
Yep, it says it can. But again, that law was passed. That law was passed prior to the change, making it clear that the county could only vacate county roads. Townships can only vacate township roads.
You know, I'm kind of getting the feeling like I just ran into that gate you put up. I'm kind of spinning our wheels here, and it's just unfortunate that these issues come up. I've asked this before, what are the wishes of the commissioners? Any comments? Would you wish to study it some more?
I guess, I think we probably need to look into these statutes to see if Mr. Leibel is saying we don't have the authority. I guess we need to do some further investigation to find out if this 31-3-17 has in fact changed to the fact that we don't have the authority. So I would make a motion to postpone this hearing at this time, or this action, in order for us to do some more research on it, and then we'll know what our decision will be at that time.
Commissioners, you heard the motion.
I'll second that motion.
There's a motion by Hatton, seconded by Van Duzen. Any more discussion? People, I really appreciate you coming up today and expressing your thoughts. It's certainly opened up a can of worms. That's as nicely as I can put it, I guess. But I understand everybody's dilemma here and frustrations, you know, and this, after this past winter, I'm sure that these things escalated because it was a tough winter. It just plain was a tough winter. That being said, any more discussion or any more comments?
The
Seeing none?
statute that we're talking about then, Tom, is 31-3-17, right? Is that the one that
Yeah,
we need to?
we'll figure out if there's been any further
Is
changes.
31-3-17 still in effect today then? Or
Yes,
has
but
that
it may
been
have,
replaced with newer laws?
It's in effect.
Is it? Okay.
It's in effect. However, that was written before the change delineating the responsibility of the county and the township is the vacation.
Okay, thank
but
you.
you're not able to tell us what that statute is that would have changed, delineated that change.
I'm sorry, what?
What you're talking about,
No, you're asking for that particular section. No, I don't have the right in front of me.
is that possible to get that to us so that we would have that information?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, now, in your motion, motion is to
Postpone.
postpone it. Would you like to, let's not drag this out till,
No, I don't.
midsummer or whatever.
Go.
Could we put it on the agenda for next week?
Should be able to get that information by that time?
Yes, I can get that statute to you or Tom directly.
Yeah.
Tom directly.
Would that work for you, Tom, if we wait next week?
statutes are all on the same chapter.
I mean,
Okay,
and yes, they're in the same chapter. However, in my research, I wasn't able to find any, specific law on it.
No, neither was I.
One of the options.
There's not going to be?
One of the options would be to ask for Attorney General's opinion, but that's going to take weeks or months to get an opinion from the AG.
and if it does, then we can delay it. But the statutes
We'll put it
are
on
there.
for next week, and then if you're able to find that section for us, then we'll be able to determine whether we have the authority. Basically, is what we're at right now, is if we have the authority to do this.
The statutes are there, the opinions are wherever. That's the way we're sitting. All right, so we do have the motion as I understand it is to postpone it, and we'll have it on the agenda for next week.
Yes.
Okay, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone, for
Thank
coming
you.
in. Appreciate it. Appreciate your input. And the results are just about what I expected. All right, let's go on then with item number 7. That's monthly reports, and we're going to start right out with the auditor.
Everybody has turned in their 2020 budget request, with the exception of this board, so I went ahead and prepared yours.
Good, thank you.
But if there's anything you wanted to budget for, I sent a couple emails out.
Yes, I thought
but-
maybe Lee, okay, so, because he's the one who's done it the last few years, because he's been working on these other.
Yeah, well, I prepared it like the other budgets were prepared, but like I said, I did not include anything above what
Right.
you would normally have, so that can come up in budget discussions.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry about that, I guess.
So I do have all those in. I have all the revenues assembled. I'll be sending you a worksheet, and then we'll be hearing budget. Each department will review their budget request with you. Normally in the month of July, we start that. We are supposed to have the provisional budget in place by the end of July, so we can publish in August, and then have our public hearings in September. And then the other thing we're working on is helping the city with the election. Their ballots have arrived. There's been a little confusion because people come here to vote early so often. They assume they're supposed to come here. We do have some signs up on the doors, and our security checkpoint officer has been helping us direct people to the right place for voting.
They can do the early voting at City Hall?
At City Hall.
Since it's a municipal
There's
election.
confusion. This is a city election, and the city handles everything. So, yeah, voting is available at City Hall the same manner that we do it here.
The counting will be done here, though, on
Counting,
election
yes,
night.
because
And
we
that's
do
where the
not-
confusion comes in,
We do
I
not
think.
let the ballot scanners out of
Yeah.
the back office. They're too expensive and delicate to be moved. So the ballots will be counted here on election night. We're going to have to have a conversation with the sheriff and the security officer about the checkpoint, because it's all locked up at night, and we have to be able to have people.
Bring the ballots in.
It's open, the ballot counting is open to the public, so I don't know yet, I haven't talked to the sheriff yet, I don't know if he'll just let the security checkpoint be open so people can come in, or, that's a discussion that we have to have yet, so.
Okay?
Also, I believe voting that day is taking place at the.
At the arena.
At the arena at the
Yep.
school, if
Yep.
anyone is wondering.
Yep. Other than that, it's just our normal day-to-day business. We did our first test last month with the direct deposit, or maybe it was this month, direct deposit for all employee reimbursements, and that seemed to go really well. We have no outstanding checks this month, so it's working.
Good. All right.
Okay.
I did, when you sent that reminder out about our budget, I did actually take a look at it, and I thought, well,
I thought you were all just shunning me.
We were just Just happy with the way it was. That's all.
I'm just happy as a lark, so.
I mean, it's technically your budget. Yes, I
Right.
can do it. You know, I can estimate what your publishing is gonna be, but if you had anything special in mind, like new audio, video equipment or anything, I did not include that.
Right.
So, the other thing is, we are supposed to be audited in 2019. The Department of Legislative Audit is really backlogged with audits. I mean, we have budgeted this year to pay for an audit. I don't know if that's going to happen based on the load they have right now and getting a state auditor to us. So we may have to look at your budget
And add that in for
and add
next year.
that in for next year.
Well, because if it doesn't happen this year, it can just,
And it's
but we
anywhere
need
from
to-
$20,000 to $25,000 is what.
we probably
that
should
costs.
do that because it's,
Right now, I
Yeah.
cannot tell you, I have not heard a word. And granted, last time they came, it wasn't until August or September, and we did get the bill in time to pay in the correct year, but that's something else we can just track
Is that a
And we can-
yearly thing, Cindy?
every other year. Yep.
Bi-yearly or whatever?
Yeah, so,
Okay.
all right.
Any more questions for Cindy? All right, let's go on Director Equalization. Shauna, I see she just showed up. In the nick of time.
I was.
Timing was perfect.
Missed the
I was
meeting.
gonna give you a pass, I was gonna
Yeah.
give you a
You
pass.
were gonna give me a pass, and then Terry come going. We are just kind of doing our normal day today. The appraisers are out, doing the reappraisal. And then we're in-house getting all the sales and everything done, new plats, things like that. And that's kind of what we're doing right now.
Busy, right?
Always busy.
All right, any questions for Shauna?
oh, how about any going to Pier?
Nope,
Okay.
nope.
Any more questions for Shauna? Anything else? All right, thank you, Shauna.
Thanks, Shauna.
All right, let's go on then. Action to approve auditor's account with the treasurer and note the monthly registered deeds fees, and that's in your packet.
In your packet was the cash and cash items on hand as of the last day of May 2019. Also a report of the checking account balance for the county, the money we have invested in South Dakota Fit. And then it also shows you on one of those sheets the amount of tax collections that we brought in May, and that's a little bit of a carryover from April because if they couldn't get all the mail processed in the month of April before the 30th, then they processed it in May, noting that no interest was due because the payments were actually received or postmarked before May 31st. So this is another one of our larger balance times of the year. It'll gradually go down between now and when our next tax collection starts in October. And then we just need to note the register deeds fees in the amount of $48,233.95. And once again, that amount is inflated over our normal amount because of the amounts we're being paid for the title company who's
Records.
working in the, yeah.
Move
So
to
we just-
approve those.
A motion by Van Duzen to approve, second by,
It was by hand, but I'll second.
okay. Motion by Hack, seconded by Van Duzen. Any discussion? Any questions? See none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Going to number 9, and this is a continuation from last week. Action to authorize a notice for sealed bids for tax deed properties, and the reason that we delayed it is because our treasurer wasn't here.
And after further investigation and discussions with the Department of Legislative Audit, it was determined that we cannot accept a sealed bid unless we advertise first.
We have to
So,
advertise for sealed
yes,
bids.
so we're kind of starting over.
Is someone going to let Mr. Jans know that?
Yeah,
Okay.
we will. So we just need action today to authorize a notice of
I'll make,
acceptance of sealed bids, and then I do have June 25th set as the deadline for those bids.
I'll make a motion that we advertise for that.
Motion by Van Duzen, seconded by Waterman. Any discussion? Sometimes when we just drag our feet a little bit, it pays off, right?
Well, over the years, that we apparently have misinterpreted the law.
Now we know.
Now we know, yep, so.
That's
I
why
don't
we
think
need-
we have anything to be ashamed of.
To,
We
you
just
know,
had two attorneys
I-
out doing
That's
that.
why we,
I did ask what the penalty was, you know, if it's not that bad, do we just go ahead and take the money because it's in the best interest of the taxpayers to get it back on the tax rolls, but Department of Legislative Audit did not agree. so-
Life in prison.
Yeah.
We know what that.
Yeah.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Any more comments? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 10 is a letter of intent to conduct a raffle or a game of chance by the Waverly South Shore. I guess it's the basketball team or athletic group up there. And you all have that in your packet,
Yep.
that letter.
I
Did you
rec-
have a chance to read it?
And there's
I
no
received a
act-
call, and
Yeah.
they're just following protocol. that
There is
they're
a statute that
Yep.
said they should file a notice of intent with the governing board, so there's no action you need to take, but the Waverly South Shore girls and boys basketball teams will be running a raffle game of chance, a Monday night football book fundraiser for each respective team.
So noted, and good luck.
Yep, notice is given. All right, let's go on to number 11.
We won't have
Action
that
on any change orders submitted for a courthouse remodel. By the way, Commissioner Gable is not with us today. As you notice, I should have said this earlier when we began our meeting. He is in Georgia attending his son's graduation from boot camp today. So that's where he's at. I would assume then no one has anything else, anything from the courthouse remodel project, do you?
No.
Anyone? All right, let's go on then for number 12, item number 12, action to approve claims for payment. And we have some, of course.
And then Lee had sent out an email also regarding some of the claims in the judicial system budget for Peters Distributing Incorporated, which are the safe and secure bills. These are 4 bills that were not part of the original project that we did budget for extra items through the judicial system budgets. One was an electric strike for the door from the vestibule to the jury suite, judge's chamber camera and spot monitor, backup batteries for the door access system, and an electronic lock on the security partition wall with a fob control, which is what everybody, I think, will be using. So,
he must have just sent that to you,
oh, I'm sorry. Oh, he may have.
because I was looking at
Shoot.
that. I don't remember seeing an email from him.
Yeah,
didn't get it.
he did. Sorry, I
Fine.
meant to forward it to you. But anyway, those ones that I've highlighted in there, those were not part of the original project, but they were determined there was a need for these, and there were budgeted funds in the judicial systems budget to cover those. So,
Okay,
on page 3 in the court-appointed attorney budget, that budget is 64% spent at the end of June.
Have you made it
Could have been
halfway?
50%. 50% would be ideal. We're a little bit overspent, but we'll just have to keep monitoring that to see how the
Supplement that
claims
later.
come in. On page 4, there's a large bill to the Watertown City Finance Office. That is our share of the pictometry project that we signed a contract several years ago. That comes out of the Director of Equalization budget. That's for a little over $16,000.
Which is very helpful in there, what they need to do, so
Yes, it
it
is.
was a good,
Let's see, on page 9, you can see that you approved a floor project at the Ag Building, and that's been completed for just over $3,500. It was for the epoxy floor. I think, was it in one of the restrooms?
yeah.
In the expo?
yeah.
At the bottom of the page, there's our January through March contracted services with First District for planning and zoning services for just a little over $5,700. On page 10, there's a $122,000 claim in the road and bridge budget, and I just pointed it out because it's just classified as equipment for our claims list, but that is the backhoe. Yeah.
Those
So,
aren't cheap.
total claims were $1,016,277.52. Of that amount, $631,609.86 was passed through to the state of South Dakota for motor vehicle.
Make a
Move to
motion.
approve.
Motion by Hatton, second by Van Duzen. Any discussion? Any discussion?
Most of what we have is pass-through money that we have no control
Yeah,
over.
it's the motor vehicle collections from the previous month, and we do get a portion of that back after the state works on the formula.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Let's go on to any automatic budget supplements.
I have nothing for 13, 14, and 15.
Oh, that's good, thank you. How about old business? Any old business to bring before the board? Anything, any mature business at this time? Seeing none, let's go on to any new business. Any new business?
I have something. I was contacted by the Department of School and Public Lands a couple of weeks ago, and they will be conducting an auction in Cottington County on, let's see, when is July. Yeah, I believe the auction will start at 11 a.m. Wednesday, July 17th. Per statute, the county auditor of the county that they're selling in will act as the clerk for sale of school and public lands. So there are 2 parcels that are being auctioned off. The auction will take place in this room. This is the first time this has happened since I started working here. This is something that has never happened. And yeah, every day there's something different. But 2 parcels of land, I believe they are out on 4th Avenue Southwest in the area of the Terex facility right now. And I think it's railroad, abandoned railroad land, yeah. There are 2 starting minimum bids, which is out of our control. But anyway, the state will be here on July 17th.
Is that property, Myron, is that west of 21st Street?
East.
So it'd
do have
be
a
east
map.
of
It's
21st
between-
Street.
It's between Highway 20 and 21st Street.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
On
What time
the
is that?
South, July 11th,
That's the old railroad line then?
yes.
I thought that
that's-
was gonna be a walking trail or a hiking.
Well,
It might be, if the right person buys it, I guess.
I do have some legal descriptions, and I actually have some maps that the Director of Equalization helped me with, but yeah, it's a strip. The starting bid on one property is $39,000, the other is $96,000.
Wow. What time is the auction?
11 a.m.
Okay,
in this office.
we got to get, oh, no, yeah. So do we need to, did they publish that, or?
They take care of everything. I'm just required to act as the clerk.
Okay.
Wow.
Little,
Good.
this is kind of
We'll
ironic.
do something with it.
I attended the South Dakota Retirement Directors Meeting, and we were in a combined meeting with South Dakota Investment Council, and the commissioner of South Dakota School and Public Lands was sitting right beside me at the meeting, and so we were discussing this particular
Were you?
item right here. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And he said, normally the auditor acts as the clerk, and I said, well, Cindy would be happy to do that.
Oh,
You can thank me now.
Yeah.
I didn't ask, but kind of a.
I looked up the statute just to make sure they weren't trying to run one over on me, but
They've been selling a lot of property and doing very, very well. So a lot of that money goes back in their school districts. Anything else for the new business? Anything else for new business? How about other? Or open? Anything for the open? Any events coming up that we might be in a quorum at? Not to my knowledge.
Nothing that the media won't be at.
All right. I have no request for executive session.
Move to adjourn.
So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Brenda, motion, the second of that
How did I get?
by
Second.
Waterman. All in favor,
That ended
indicate by
up on
saying
my
aye.
desk. Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
same sign, motion
Must have
carries.
been when we were
are
transferring
adjourned.
stuff
Thank you.
back and forth.
Sending that
No, I don't.
drug out.
I don't know. I don't, who knows when we were looking for that. I know. Let me look. But yeah, good thing yeah, it is in the